My name's Cole, and I listen to a lot of podcasts. Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about the Once and Future Nerd. Be careful, there are spoilers ahead. I'm going to try and keep it as vague as I can, but there are some things that I gotta talk about, so just be warned, okay? Alright, so, The Once and Future Nerd is about three American high school kids who get sucked into a fantasy world with elves and orcs and swords and all of that good D&D fantasy kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about the pros for right now. There are fantastic female characters. Sorry, I'm always excited about those. Fantastic female characters. Nia and Reagan and Arlene and Gwen and all of those characters are fantastic and diverse and have different personalities and different motivations, and I love it. The cast is very diverse. We've got different genders and different ages and different classes and different races and different social classes and things like that. And it deals with that very well. It's not made a huge deal about everything. Let's see. It's an interesting plot. I have always been a really big fan of D&D in general, and so seeing these three high school students who just get thrown into a world of D&D and how they handle it and how they deal with not being in our plane anymore is really interesting. Let's see. The characters are given a lot of time to develop, and their characters develop very well. They actually become really likable once they stop being such assholes to each other. It also handles abuse very well. Arlene and Gwen are basically stuck under Arlene's brother Ardell, and Ardell is just a huge asshole. He's the worst type of person. He beats her, he threatens her, he does some other stuff that I'm not gonna get into. And just the way that they handle that and handle showing that he is actually a bad person is really good. They also deal with a lot of things like child abuse. So I guess watch out for that. Child abuse and consequences and a lot of negative situations are handled very well, and I can absolutely appreciate that. Okay, so the cons. It takes a while for the characters to become likable. When the three high school kids, Billy, Jen, and Nelson, arrive in this land, they are intolerable. Jen is, I don't want to say she's an idiot, because she's not, because once her character starts to develop, she's fucking smart. Jen is unlikable, Billy's an asshole, Nelson is okay, but he's a little bit of he's a nerd. He's portrayed as a weakling nerd who can't really do anything. It takes them a while to break out of those stereotypical shells, almost to the point where I didn't really want to keep listening because I couldn't relate to them as much as I would have liked to. After a while, Nelson, Jen, and Billy kind of become back seat to everyone else. They stop being the main characters, which is a little confusing considering the title is about the Once and Future Nerd, which you can assume is Nelson, but it stops being like that. It has more of a focus on Arlene and Gwen and Nia and Yelloween and Brennan and the people who are actually in this world to begin with, which is okay, but it's kind of like, why are they there then? Let's see. The last boss for the end of book 1 dragged on. It dragged on for way too long. So this is where all the spoilers are gonna come in. I can see what they were doing with the whole nice guy motif, where the bad guy is like one of the classmates of Nia who had a crush on Nia and turns into one of those assholes who are like, well, why does it fall on the man to blah blah or blah blah blah, and well, you only like me or you friend zoned me because I'm a nice guy and you go out with assholes. And I see where they were going, and I can appreciate what they were trying to do, because this podcast overall has been very progressive. It definitely deals with how women are treated and how men are treated and differences between that, along with things like race and sex and sexuality and all of that stuff. It's been a very progressive podcast, but this was just a little too cheesy, a little too preachy. I definitely appreciate what they were doing, and I can definitely see why they did it, but it was kind of really out of nowhere. It would have been a little bit better if we could have heard about this final boss, or at least about the problems that Nia had with him earlier in the podcast, so it's not quite out of nowhere and not quite as weird, because he talks about how they studied together, or how they were in school together. And when we first meet Nia, it's just her and this old dude, and there's no mention of this classmate, this schoolmate. Or she never mentions it, she never talks about, like, her love life or anything like that. It's kind of out of left field. It could have also been much, much shorter of a battle, but, what are you gonna do? Alright, things I want to see from them in the future. I think more of a focus on getting these kids back, or more of a focus on these kids in general. What do I want to see from them? What do I want to talk about in the future? Okay. Hopes for book 2. I absolutely want to see more of their Queen Regan, and more focus on Gwen and Arlene, because they are the cutest little lesbian couple. More voice actors. They reuse some voice actors towards the end of book 1, and you can absolutely tell it's the same voice actor. So I'm hoping with this added popularity that they're getting, that they can afford a few more voice actors. I kind of want to hear a little bit more about their world building. They've done a really good job so far about their world building, but it's mainly condensed to their travels and the ways they go through. I want to know about history and about lore and more about, like, these dream prophecies that have been happening, and it's really good so far. I want more from them. Alright guys, that's all I've got for you for now. If you liked something I talked about, or if you want to talk about the podcast or discuss it, just leave a comment below. I'm going to be linking in the description where you can find and listen to the Once and Future Nerd. Like always, if you like this series, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your doctor, along with all of those symptoms you've been having. Alright, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.